Hey there, it's me Nate, and today we're going to be talking about Sabriel by Garth Nix. Now, normally I tend to at least script out or at least make like bullet points about my thoughts on these books as I review them. But today I kind of just want to try just going into it, doing my off the dome thoughts. It's been maybe two or 3 days since I finished this, and I thought it was good. Just get it out of the way. If I had to give this a score, I'd give it 3.5 out of 5 stars, which is a good rating on my scale. And I think, so this might sound negative, but I don't mean it to be. The way people like on BookTube talk about Sabriel, and then I finished the book myself, I was like, I think it's a little bit overrated. A lot of people say, oh, this is like the best YA book they've ever read, or or like all of these other high praises. And I thought it was good. I thought it was solid, but I also don't think it's like anything super out of the ordinary in terms of YA. I think part of that maybe because a lot of booktubers look down on YA. It's not like an adult book with like super adult themes. They think all like YA is trash, which there is a lot of YA trash. Don't get me wrong, a lot of it is trash. So I can't blame them too much. But I thought, but back to the point, I think Sabriel is pretty good. I like our main trio characters, which is Sabriel, Touchstone, and Mogget. I don't think any of them are like exceptional. I think they're all pretty decent. A lot of people think that Mogget is like one of the best animal companions ever, and I think he's okay. But before we really delve into the characters, let me just give you a brief description of what the book is about. Sorry. So this is just the back of the book, plot, synopsis. As a child, Sabriel was sent across the wall to Ancelsteer to safety. Now 18 years old, she receives a cryptic and desperate message from her father, the Abhorsen, the magical protector whose task it is to bind and send back to death those who won't stay dead. Fiercely determined to help her father, who is perilously trapped in death, and save him from the sinister free magic entity that has somehow ensnared him, Sabriel must prepare to enter death herself and find her destiny. Enter the Old Kingdom, a world of dark secrets and dangerous magic. So, going off of that, like it said, Sabriel has to, go on this quest to save her father and basically, find herself. And kind of rediscover her roots of her lineage and her family, and become like the new Abhorsen, who, like it says, is kind of like this protector of the realm that stands against like the creatures of like death, and sends the dead creatures back across the outside of life and back into the death. And, the two kingdoms, Ancelsteer and Old Kingdom, they're separated by this magical wall that usually the creatures of death cannot, come over, and it keeps out, most of the magic from the Old Kingdom from crossing over to Ancelsteer. It's, only, the land and, the vicinity, the direct vicinity of the wall has any magic on the Ancelsteer side. And so, at the beginning, and as she goes, Sabriel, through her journey, is a bit ignorant of the customs and ways of the people on the Old Kingdom side, which isn't her fault, because she's from the age of 5 to 18, she's lived her life on the Ancelsteer side, and so when she is embarrassed or perturbed by the differences on the Old Kingdom side, she isn't willfully ignorant. She's oh, I didn't know that, and then she kind of internalizes that and moves on and learns, which I really like, because there's a lot of times in books or stories where a protagonist will notice the differences in cultures and stuff like that, and be kind of ignore them or try to force like their own point of views on people. So I really like that she accepts it and moves along with it. Not like the culture of the Old Kingdom people is like super different or anything, but still. And as like she goes along, she picks up her two like traveling companions, which I mentioned earlier is Mogget, who is this this like free spirit entity that has been like forced into like and bound into servitude to the Abhorsens. And we don't, Mogget himself is like a mystery, but for Sabriel, he kind of serves as like a mentor, like a guiding force for her to like try to help her fill in the gaps of like her knowledge. And then, a bit further in the journey, they meet Touchstone, who is this human character who is basically sealed away before Sabriel frees him, and then he decides to join Sabriel on her journey to save her father. And Touchstone, he has this history with like the main antagonist of the book, and he has like a part to play in what happened in the past, and so he's trying to redeem himself. Well, not even really redeem himself, because he hates himself and like his plot. I mean, his part in what happened in the past. So he's trying to find any kind of like salvation, and as like recompense for what he did, because he doesn't think he deserves to be forgiven. So these are our three main characters, and the story is like this kind of like classic tale of like a young character goes off on this journey, and as they progress, they face dangers, they learn new things, and they grow. But another theme is of acceptance, of being able to accept death, and being able to let go of things that you can't control. And I thought it was nicely done. And it's not super long. This is a very like linear, to the point story. There's not a lot of fluff. There's not a lot of like pages of like just like bloat. It never feels like Sabriel is like the book is wasting your time. It is very like we're using the minimum amount of pages to get from point A to point B. So if you want like a quick story that like doesn't waste your time and you can have fun with and go on like this magical journey, Sabriel is definitely worth like looking into. I do plan on reading the rest of the books in the series at some point. I think I've already ordered the second book, Lyriel, in the what is it called? So the book series is called Abhorsen, the Abhorsen series, at least in the United States. I know in other countries it's called the Old Kingdom series. So I've already ordered the second book, Lyriel, which I'll read at some point. Also, as far as Sabriel and Lyriel and like Mogget and Ancelsteer, I read this in physical, so I have no idea if I'm pronouncing any of these names right. I did find out it was interesting. I thought like all of the books, at least like except for like maybe like the books 4 through 6, I thought like the first 3 were all from Sabriel's point of view, but in the second book it's like an entirely new character and you're following her story, which I was surprised by, because like this book, along with it being like so to the point, also really feels like a setup book for like more adventures with Sabriel, because like this book, it focuses a lot on like setting up like the different types of magic, which are charter magic and free magic, and how like Ancelsteer and the Old Kingdom work and things like that. It spends a good part of its time setting up the world. So I thought, okay, so like for like books 2 and 3, it'll be like more adventures with Sabriel, Mogget, and Touchstone, and like now that they have like a lot of the world setting up out of the way, they can just be even more direct. But no, it's for the next book on, it's like different characters or something like that. So I'll see how that is. And I do find, speaking of like free magic and charter magic, those are the two kind of like magic systems. Like, so like free magic is kind of like wild or like dark magic. That is, like the creatures of death, for example, they use free magic for the to, you know, to do things like, whether it's like to possess people or to like, you know, eat humans, or like, you know, to take in like life force. And so it's mostly used by the creatures of death. And charter magic is like the magic that humans use, because it basically, through like symbols, or like through these 7 magical bells that Sabriel and the Abhorsens use, it basically takes in like kind of like the free magic and kind of like refines it to a more controlled, balanced, you know, like more purified form of magic for humans to use. And I thought that was, you know, I thought it was interesting. It's like very, it's very like simple. It doesn't really, you know, it's like, oh, we need this to happen next in the story, and it's like, you know, so they'll use magic. You know, it's like, there, you know, if you dislike kind of like Deus Ex Machina kind of like magic stuff, I think you might find this kind of thing annoying. This book annoying, I mean, but I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine. So I think that's everything I have to say. But so like, again, yeah, this is a nice short, you know, I say short, it's like 300 pages, but a nice approachable fantasy story. You know, have like a little kind of like trio of characters to follow along through this journey. So I think with Sabriel you could have a good time. Let's see. But yeah, that's all I've got going on. I think probably I should be going back to work this week, so I'll probably get me back focused more. So hopefully by this time next week, I'll be done with Stormfront by Jim Butcher, and I can have a review out for that. So yeah, until then, if you could like, subscribe the video, and comment down below if you have any thoughts, and have a good day.